Number 29.
Yeah, that's the other one that Mr. Staff has been involved in.
This one here. 28's not going to be a closed door, is it?
28?
That is 28 OSS Academy.
29, no, none of them, So item 28, this is a approval for services not to exceed $14,850. OSS is a professional resource that provides law enforcement loss control services. We've had several conversations over the past couple of years with OSS in different ways that they could assist the city. You know, Nicola and staff has done seminars and brought them to the table as somebody to consider to assist us. And one of the things that I brought forward in the budget process for risk management is what are some of the things that we can do to improve policies, procedures, and identify ways to control losses up front. So we had the Chief Slobosky, myself, and Mr. Staff, and Dr. Solomon from OSS Academy had some conversation about what we thought were important things for the City of Taylor to focus on. And the proposal that was put together came out of conversations and conference calls that we had. And basically what we are looking for is OSS, the law enforcement advisors, to come in and to do a complete analysis and rewriting of our policies and procedures for our Taylor Police Department. They will also be doing an evaluation of jail operations. And then in addition to that, the distracted driving online course that will be offered to not only those police personnel that are using city vehicles, but we are going to extend it to anyone who is driving a city-owned vehicle. So we think that these three things were important objectives when I was looking at the budget for this year. These were some initiatives that I thought were important to bring forward, and finally we've gotten to the point where we have the proposals on paper, we have it costed, we have some support from Nicola and staff to help us accomplish these items, and I think this will be a very worthwhile investment for the city, and certainly just the beginning as we start to evaluate loss control throughout the total city.
For as far as contractual obligations, are we allowed to do something like this? Are we allowed to bring in enough?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We as management are responsible for the operations.
Okay.
And it's our job to make sure that our policies and procedures are compliant and that we operate in a way that is safe for anyone who comes in contact with any of our services, and that we're in legal compliance. So they're really, from our standpoint, this is something that when you do go through the legal process and somebody does sue you, one of the things they ask is, what does your training look like? What do your policies look like? Those are just basics that anyone will ask in a lawsuit. So, and we're in the driver's seat.
Policy manual, and when was it last updated? Where did it come from? We're paying an outside vendor. Did an outside vendor write it, the one that exists today, or?
I don't have the specifics as to the current policies and when they were written. I know they precede Chief Slobosky, and perhaps even Chief Tamsin when he was here. So in my tenure here, I have not seen a restatement of the policies and the procedures.
Is there been a general consensus that they're just so out of date, or?
There is, in the law enforcement community, I know that many departments, it's something that you look at annually. One of my other items that I'll be bringing forward tonight, we're going to look at just some citywide policies and procedures for loss control and reporting accidents and reporting injuries. So it's good business. It's something that we should be doing, is doing an annual review of our policies and procedures.
I just wanted to make sure before we, if we're gonna spend the money, they come and give us all these lists of things we should do, and then according to
It's
a
a-
contract, we can't do that, so that
Usually
was my biggest.
a negotiated contract.
Right, yeah, that was my
supersedes.
concern, you
Yeah,
know.
and I'm gonna have Steve, staff kind of chime, because I know he's worked with them in other communities, and he can kind of shed some light on that experience.
Well, I'm more concerned about our contract, so I mean, when you guys went through things, you know, that's my biggest thing, you know, understand what I'm saying?
We're not addressing contract issues. We're not addressing the relationship with your officers and command staff or officers in the city. What we're addressing is bringing the policies into a review mode in conjunction with your command staff,
Okay.
not independent or separate from, but with them in an effort to bring them current, bring them up to date. And as Sheila mentioned, you know, this is one of your best defenses, or one of your fewest defenses during discovery from a plaintiff's perspective. There are going to be all kinds of questions about how the training exists, how contemporary is this training, what's the nature of the training, and this goes back to your policies and procedures. And when dealing with an outside vendor like OSS, we've got an opportunity to work with an entity that has retired state, local, and federal officers, attorneys, people that are looking at case law not only in Michigan, but throughout the country and at a federal level. So they're able to take a look at your existing policies and procedures and apply what's gone on from a contemporary basis to try to update that, so we're giving you the best defensive tool from a liability or litigation standpoint. The implementation of those policy and procedures fall back upon your command staff. And again, I don't think we're doing anything different here, we're just updating what's there. So it's a matter of reinforcing those policies and procedures. Then I'm assuming that what's going on now is that periodically at roll call or something, they're reviewing a policy and procedure. We're just going to take a look at this and make sure we're using contemporary information within those policies to give you the best defensive tools possible.
And that is exactly the mode that is happening. There's information that's shared at roll call. Additionally, just to piggyback on what Steven said, every time we go through a renewal for our liability policy, I mean, they ask for training logs, they ask for, you know, what courses have you trained your employees on, dates, times, you know, they want to see attendance sheets, so it's very important that, you know, we have that, you know, we continue to understand that this isn't just something we're going to do once every 5 years. I mean, we really need to we're doing this annually because it's, you know, it's not just for the department, but it's also for the city in terms of when we go out to purchase insurance and obviously dealing with any litigation that comes our way.
OSS has a national reputation, so when I go an underwriter in the future and say that the City of Taylor's Police Department has contracted with OSS and OSS has completed a review of policies and procedures, the city has implemented those, the city has undertaken OSS's national defensive driving program, and their officers have gone through this. This is a bargaining tool that helps us do two things: find more carriers that may have an appetite or an interest in providing coverage to the city, and also make that price hopefully more competitive. So that becomes an important perspective from that end. Insurance companies are great about selling an insurance policy, collecting a premium, and then coming out and send a loss control specialist to walk around, and they'll tell you what not to do, but they're afraid to tell you what to do differently or how to do something because they don't want to be liable.
Right.
So this is why we rely upon a third-party vendor that has professional experience, has their own liability coverage. You know, they're putting their necks on the line. A big part of the work that they do is expert witness. So they engage a relationship with the City of Taylor, they provide this informational policies and procedures. We end up with a claim in federal court. We can call upon these guys to come in as defense as far as how this policy was implemented, what was done here, and what was the experience with this.
So do we have to pay extra for that witness service if we were using it in the future?
That would be
Or
a
is
separate,
that
yeah, then no, that would not be part of this. We feel strongly enough about this part of it that we're contributing $5,000 to offset the $14,000. We'll be reimbursing that
Right,
amount.
yeah. Thank you.
The other side of the coin is that the defensive driving issues, as Sheila said, we're going to offer this to Jeff's people that are driving the buses, you know, to make sure again that we're creating this affirmative defense and giving these people the updates as far as you know, being able to say that we've done some defensive driving, and this gives us that additional bump for the city from that protective standpoint.
It's going to be basically anyone who drives a city vehicle. We want to make make sure that we have that. It's a brief training, and it's important for us that, you know, in part of maintaining our fleet and, you know, maintaining safe, you know,
Will the,
safety,
like,
that we train our, you know, people just to
people
be
that
aware.
drive the dump trucks and snow plows and
Yes.
all that type of-
Yes,
You have somebody driving a large vehicle like that, you want to make sure that there's some defensive
Right.
training in place. You've got somebody driving a bus that has passengers in it, you want to make sure there's some defensive driving in place. You have an officer driving a souped-up vehicle, you want to make sure that there's some defensive driving in place.
My only response to that is, you know, I agree with that somewhat, but the big thing is, at the end of the rainbow, we would get a discount on our insurance if we send people through this, correct? Because,
That's
I mean,
certainly my
these people go through training, they get licenses, they get all the proper, the police go through, so it's not like they are not trained. I mean, I know they might need to be updated a little bit, but to say, if you go through Bob's truck driving class, you're better than that truck driver because he went through Ed's truck driving class, you know?
At the end of the day, what I'm concerned about is, and appreciate that this takes a little extra time on behalf of your employees and command staff, but at the end of the day, my responsibility is to try to get the best coverage that I can
Right.
for the city of Taylor at the most competitive price.
Right.
And if you've ever gone through a lawsuit where you've had to respond to discovery, plaintiffs' attorneys have become very, very creative and very, very specific about the information they want to collect. And they utilize that information to the best of their advantage to get into your pocket. So I'm trying to create that defense for the city. I'm trying to create that affirmative protection. So if something does go south, we've got something in place that may have taken some time, that may have cost something, and at the end of the day, nobody's got a crystal ball whether it'll work or not, but it's something that we can use as an affirmative defense going forward. That's my effort here. This is an independent firm. I don't have any affiliation with them, but over the past 10 years, I've developed a relationship with them. I've had them out to the jail in Macomb County. Brownstown Township has just finished their defensive driving program. They're working in the city of Detroit. I'm related to my office. So they've got a reputation that I think is acknowledged and accepted throughout the law enforcement community.
it's just a different dynamic in today's society. I mean, we, you know, directors are doing training all the time, supervisors are doing training all the time, but one of the things that becomes critical is how do we document that, and how do we say that we have analyzed annually what our operational plans are, and how can we say that we have trained our employees? And I think it's just a different expectation of an employer these days that we kind of do those things a little different, and we kind of deliver it a little different too. I mean, something like distracted driving, it's just good business practice. I mean, it's a good refresher for everybody. I think we can all say that, you know, sometimes we've seen accidents, or, you know, we've known of personal situations where those little refreshers can't hurt. They really just can't hurt.
Is this new manual going to be recommended to risk management, and you guys are going to sign off on it, or what happens when they write this new and improved manual?
It's adopted. I mean, obviously, this is going to be, our role with risk management is to bring this forward. The chief and her command staff will play a critical piece in this, because, I mean, they're going to be involved in the final adoption of the document. I mean, we have, you know, the current policy and procedures. I'd be happy to send those to you, just if you want to get a flavor for what we're talking about.
I'm just curious how we're going to go from what we have to what they're going to recommend. Are we automatically going to, you know, take their word for it that they're the national expert and this is what we have to do? Is there going to be a union vote? How are we going to go from paying for a draft of new procedures and actually getting them implemented in the city?
Right, and we don't need a union vote for
I'm asking what the project, this is coming from risk management, so
Right.
what are they going to do with it once we get it in a binder format?
Well, it would replace what we currently have as our operating procedures. And
They're
then,
immediately going to go into effect.
but the recommendations that they make, we still, as the employer, as the city, can decide. I mean, the chief's still going to, with her department, decide what those final documents are going to look like. We're not saying that everything that they give us is going to be automatically adopted, but we certainly want you to understand that they are going to come forward with some, you know,
Sure.
concrete recommendations, because that's what we're asking them
Right,
to do.
no, I agree.
So,
I mean, it's only good if we implement them, if we take their
Right.
advice, and I just want to make sure I understand how we're going to get to that point.
yeah, and then obviously, any changes or any, you know, modifications, you know, we talked about that roll call structure. I mean, that really is the way for the supervisors to get that hands-on with everyone who's on shift. And, you know, part of that roll call will be reviewing these policies, signing, dating, that we have a documented trail that it's been reviewed with the employees.